Right, welcome to the Groupie final presentation video. I am Gabriel. Our group number is SP-28, Finding Band Members. This is for Senior Project 4850, Section 3, Fall Semester 2023, and our professor is Sharon Perry. So when developing the idea for Groupie, we set out to solve a problem, and that is a problem that a lot of local musicians have, and that is the struggle to find other people to play music with, specifically talking about people who might play bass, drums, or guitar. Lots of times when you reach a certain point in your musical career, you want to play with other people, and that can be a struggle for uh, musicians, local musicians especially. So our solution was to create an app that functions very similarly to an app like Tinder, where Group B users can see other people in a certain vicinity and match with them, see what style of music they play, see if they have good chemistry together, and then hopefully play with other users. These are the tools that we used during the development of Groupie. We used React Native as a framework to develop the app itself that obviously uses JavaScript. Figma was our design tool used to create some mockups, which we'll see in a second. It's very good. It's very collaborative. We were all able to edit documents at one time. Firebase was used for, or is currently being used for the database integration. GitHub served as our repository. We use Discord for communication, and HTMLDog was for website creation. So Figma, it is an open source platform developed by Google. It is very useful for creating designs, especially as a group or just as a collaborative tool. As I said earlier, we were all able to work on one document at a time. It was very useful and very intuitive to use to create graphics. So you can see here, these were the initial mockups for Groupie. It started black and white. Before anything else, we just needed to get something on the page. And so we were able to create this logo design using Figma and import an image and create these text bubbles. This is all just with Figma. And the reason it's black and white, again, is that we didn't necessarily know the color scheme. That was a big part of the design, was what color should our app have. I think that's a big part of every app's look. And this was early in the design, obviously, so I didn't know yet. But as you can see here, just from looking at this, we wanted Groupie to be very easy on the eyes, very user-friendly, so rounded corners on text bubbles. The font itself is very curved and easy to read as well. And there's nothing taking away from the user experience here. So these are some mock-ups in the later stages of the design. There's definitely more to look at here. As you can see, there's a color scheme now. It's a nice soft green that's very easy on the eyes. The text is still that nice bubble style text. The text bubbles themselves are still rounded, and the buttons are very big, very easy to see, and very easy to navigate with. And on the bottom there, there's actually a kind of menu bar that's just for quick navigation for the user to be able to go from screen to screen within our app.
Hello, my name's Bree, and I will start my part of the presentation by going over Expo Go. Expo Go is an open source sandbox application, and while it's not recommended for production quality apps, it did provide a native runtime, which allowed us to be able to test and run our application on our personal mobile devices with an update and refresh speed similar to web development, and this helped a lot, especially with testing. We were able to test the application or the Groupie application while we were still in the development phase and as we went along. So I thought this would be a good uh, platform to mention in our presentation. We have the file structure of our application here. I have the screen separated. That's each tab that you can navigate to before and after login. And I have the Firebase configuration as well as the configuration of the device. And then from top to bottom, I would just go over a couple of the important structures. .expo contains a devices.json file, and that contains information about devices that have recently opened this project. And this is used to populate the development sessions that's listed in your development builds. And program data works the same way, basically. It holds the information related to the current or last active user. And then in the app structure, I have the majority of the files. They are written in JavaScript. And then within each files, we have HTML and CSS as well as JavaScript for each individual page. And we plan to integrate TypeScript into the screens just to add easier functionality for us to connect to the database. Underneath the assets folder, we have images and fonts. And then in the node modules folder, those are the packages and dependencies that we download to add different functionalities to the application. And then below that, there's the app.json file, and this holds the configuration information for the Expo project. And that's also where the splash screen is developed. And I'll talk more about the splash screen during the demo. We have the Babel file, and this just configures the JavaScript code to whatever environment Expo is currently running on. And then below that is the package and dependencies. One large part of the application I want to talk about was the Stack Navigator. This here is basically the main functionality of the application that allows you to switch between tabs. Here I have it between the sign up login screen and the sign up screen. And there's also a similar component for switching between tabs after you log in. That's called a tab navigator.
All right, hello, I'm Chris Meyer. I mainly worked on documentation and Firebase for Groupie. So first off, what is Firebase? Firebase is a cloud services provider for app development. It's very popular with React Native, which we developed Groupie with. The reason we used it is because it has some nice user authentication functionality just built right into it. So we would use that to authenticate if a user was registered to the database. If they were able to read and write to and from the database. And Firebase also has collections that we use to store users and their information. So each collection had a document, and those documents held the user information. And we'll get into that in probably the next slide. Never mind. This is the Firebase configuration within React Native slide. So this is just the general file, how Firebase configuration file. You can just get this directly from your Firebase settings, and that will connect you directly to the database. This is the Firebase collections. So as you can see, it starts with users, and then they're given a, we just at the moment have it as an auto ID. So that's why it's that long string. And that's connected to the email, first name, last name, password, username, and then, images, videos, audio, so on and so on. And this is just showing that we're able to actually paint the database. This was a while ago. This was, as you can see, November 6th and 7th. It's been kind of up and down recently. We've been having to debug it, and you get it back on and it'll go back off. Right now it's working fine though. But this is just to show that we are in fact having activity on Firebase. And then this is just to show that we're testing around with user creation authentication. And these users can now read and write the database. They can upload their information, grab it back. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be taking over to discuss the demo. Here I have Here we have the splash page. This is the page that starts up when you initially load the app. It's currently depending on the JavaScript and HTML, CSS being loaded when the Expo Go application is running. In the future, we plan to base it on when the app connects to the database. Here we have the initial login signup page, and you see the logo we mentioned above with the instrumentation below. This is the login page. We have a forgot username and forgot password button below the username and password input, as well as a login button. And you see that when we type in the username and password for a test account, it logs in and takes us to the inside of the application with the tab navigator you can see at the bottom. If I were to go back, I'll take us to the sign up screen where you can type in your information that will save to the database when you create a new user. And then the register button, and then back to the login screen. In the future, we'd like the login or the register button to take you directly. But we have here, we're using the username and password we just created to take us back into the login screen. And this is the personalized, or this is the inside of the application that is directly connected to the user account. We still have some more functionality to work in inside the account, but we are able to have the login work with the username and passwords that we tested or that we created to test with.
So with where we stand now with the app still connecting with the database and that sort of this stage, we have some aspirations for where we want to go from here. And obviously, number one is we would like the app to be fully functional as it stands. But then thereafter, there are some other things we'd like to integrate, such as a website. Our app is more of a service, and with services like this, to name a few that have been named, Tinder, platforms like Spotify or other platforms, they have websites that users can go to find out more about the services themselves or to log in and check some details about their account just from a website. So that is definitely something we would like to integrate. We'll also need to be integrating a geolocation functionality. That's just to service the function for our app, which is users within a certain area will be able to connect with each other. And that can actually be done using a Google API that React we can use with React Native. A messaging platform within the app that is fundamental to users being able to connect with each other. We want them to be able to talk to one another and be able to decide from communication if they are if they mesh well together, if they have chemistry. Finally, we want to be able to publish this app and add it to our portfolios, because it would be great to be able to say that we have a product that's on the market as a new graduate. That would be something very nice to be able to have under our belt, and a full application that we developed front end and back end would be great to have on our portfolios and in our future. So finally, we started this whole project by finding a solution to a problem. And I should state as well that this is a problem that each of us have. I personally am a drummer, Bree plays the bass, and Chris is a guitarist. And we came together the first day we ever met and each relayed our struggles with finding other musicians to play. And immediately we had this idea to create an app to fix this problem for us and for others. So that is where this started, finding a solution to a problem. Then came the design aspect. We launched Figma, created a few mockups, and from that we were able to immediately turn over and start the development of the app. And that started with React Native. Bree took the head on that. And if you could recall from the demo video, how well she was able to actually incorporate the designs that we had from the mockups into React Native and to show that on the app itself. It was a very good job there. And then finally connecting with Firebase, which is something we're still working on. It has proved to be more of a struggle than we first thought. It looks very nice to work with, and I mean, it's offered by Google, so it looks very pretty, looks very nice. We've heard lots of good things about working with it. However, working with React Native and Firebase specifically has been more of a challenge than we initially thought, but that is our next step and our continued step in the development process. Thank you.